I'm considering leaving my fiance, 35 male, because of what his ex told me. I, 25 female, have been with my fiance Sean, 35 male, for 3 years. He proposed to me in December and I happily agreed. I've met and like his family and likewise for him. Our circle of friends have come together. We have a dog and are saving for a wedding and a house. I'll note that I'm an immigrant from an Eastern Europe country while he is fully American. Sean had a previous long-term relationship before me with Kate, 30 female, and he's been open about it. He told me that they were together for a few years but had an amicable split because of differing ideas about their future. He wanted to settle down and she did not, his words. He said they had no kids or assets, so it was easy to split. I've never met or spoken with Kate before. His family doesn't bring her up. When we got engaged, I didn't want to share it online until we got some professional photos taken, which we took a couple of weeks ago. I just received them last week and posted a couple of pics announcing our engagement. The very next day, Kate DM'd me. I knew it was her because the name matched and I recognized her picture from my fiance's old posts. She was very direct and said that I need to know the truth about Sean. According to her, they did not break up amicably, but rather he left her when she received a serious medical diagnosis. Also, they had apparently been married. I did not believe her at first, but then she sent me lots of proof. Marriage license, hospital bills, even a selfie she had with him in the hospital. I decided to speak with her on the phone and she just told me everything. She said it's her life mission to warn other women about him while she can. I was and still am stunned. In my culture, family and loved ones are more important than anything. My mom cares for my ailing dad, as do me and my siblings. Marriages and family are truly in sickness or in health. If I got sick, would he leave me? What about our future kids? I believe Kate, but I'm also torn on what to do. I haven't spoken to Sean about this yet. This might be a deal breaker for me.
My boyfriend keeps telling everyone I assaulted him, and I'm having a hard time understanding what he's trying to gain from it. Sam, male 32, and I, female 31, met on Tinder almost a year ago and became official maybe 6 months after our first date. He's a great guy overall, but he's also, for the lack of a better word, not very bright. And the more our relationship progressed, I saw that on top of being clueless about a lot of things that are considered common sense, he's also quite arrogant and never changes his beliefs even if presented with evidence. About a month ago, we were in his apartment cooking dinner together. I had a bit of work to finish, so was sitting at the kitchen table with my laptop while Sam was preparing food. I told him just to wait 15 minutes max so I can join and help. He refused and continued loudly chopping and banging pots. I was already a bit annoyed, but I knew that telling him to let me finish won't make him quieter, so I got up and moved to the living room. A bit later, he said jokingly that it's too much work for one person and he'll wait till I'm done with my work, grabbed his phone, and went to the bathroom. What I didn't notice is that he left a pan with oil on a gas stove. Work took me a bit longer than I anticipated, and I guess I ignored the smoke smell for too long, and the moment I stepped into the kitchen to investigate it, it was too late and I saw oil catching fire. I yelled for Sam that the pan is on fire and tried to locate a big enough lid and an oven glove or a towel. Then I heard Sam's voice behind me saying, "Don't worry, I got this," and I see him approaching the stove with a huge carafe of water from his bedstand. My lizard brain took over, and like in slow motion, I jumped forward and pushed him as hard as I could away from the stove. Finally saw a wok lid and slammed it over fire. My heart was racing so much from adrenaline that I didn't even realize for a few seconds that Sam was in my face yelling that I assaulted him out of nowhere and he's calling the police. My initial reaction was, haha, nice joke, dude. But then I realized he's serious. Apparently after I pushed him, he fell and hit his head, but nothing serious because there was no blood and no signs of concussion. Carafe broke and there was water and glass everywhere. I was still in an agitated state and apologized for pushing him, explaining that I was probably on autopilot and just saw him carrying water and had to act quickly. That was the moment when his arrogance came up and he began condescendingly lecturing me about how fires are put out with water, and I'm probably dumb and think firefighters just shove flames away. Not gonna lie, I lost my cool then and began yelling at him that he's the biggest idiot I've ever met and he can't just open an effing YouTube and see what happens when you add water to burning oil. But of course, he didn't listen and kept insisting all fire is put out with water and that I'm just an abuser and hit him for no reason, and he's gonna report me to the police because women are always getting away with DV and male victims are forced to suffer in silence. At this point, I just told him to go F himself, grab my stuff, and went home. He didn't make an official police report, but told his family and some of our mutual friends that he was just cooking peacefully, and out of nowhere I assaulted him, pushed him on the ground, and hit his head. Nothing about him leaving a pan on a gas stove, nothing about the fire and his ignorance about it. literally keeps telling people I'm an abuser. To some smart people who reached out to me to hear my version of events, I explained it fully, pointing out that I'm not saying I was right in pushing him this hard away, but from previous situations with him, I knew yelling "stop, don't throw water on the stove" would be pointless, with him likely just ignoring me because he knows better. I think I'm still in some kind of a shock state, imagining the aftermath of the situation if he managed to dump a whole carafe of water into that oil, so I simply messaged Sam asking to stop harassing me and we're over. But he keeps threatening me with filing a police report if I don't tell everyone the truth and explain why I assaulted him, repeating over and over again and sending him links on what happens when you pour water over oil fire made no difference because he replied that it's fake and for the views. And all adults know that you put out fire with water, and I need to stop talking about this stove fire because it has nothing to do with my violent behavior. No idea what to do, really. He keeps pushing the narrative about being a DV victim. It's not ruined anything in my life yet, mostly because I realized that Sam never cared enough about my life and doesn't even know where exactly I work and never met my closest friends or family, so he didn't tell them or my boss this story. But some members of his family still message me asking why I did that and why I won't admit assaulting Sam. Should I just accept that he went too far and continue ignoring him, hoping it will all go away? I have little faith in him actually going to the police with that, especially a month after.
I had my son at the age of 21 years old. His father passed away 2 years later, so it was me and my son against the world. In the beginning of my son's senior year, he brought a friend home. Let's call him Max. I really liked Max as a person. He was a really sweet guy. We exchanged numbers just in case. After 4 months of coming to our house, Max texts me that he wants to meet up for coffee out of nowhere. I texted him if it was something urgent or about my son. He responded by saying it's something important. I was curious, so I decided to meet up with him. When I met up with him, he looked very nervous. I asked him what was this meeting about. He told me I can't tell my son about it. He then confessed to me that he was developing feelings for me. I was taken aback by this. I told him that while I was flattered, I had to think about my son. He pleaded with me to just give him a chance. It was so long that I found somebody interested in me like that. Max was already 18 when he was introduced to me, and he is a very handsome man. I said yes, but with the condition that it would only be casual dating and my son doesn't have to know about it. We met up the next week at his place. I told my son I was going out with friends. The meetups became very frequent, and as such, our relationship grew stronger. Looking back, it seems that my relationship with Max had a negative effect on the relationship with my son. I had to come up with different excuses on why I wasn't around. I missed out on his soccer games. I think I really messed up when I missed his birthday dinner because I was with Max. It was a week before my son's flight to college that I got a text from Max that my son found out about us. When my son arrived home, he never uttered a word about the situation. He just pretended that nothing ever happened. He seemed very cold to me. When it came to dropping him off, he didn't even give me a hug or even look back at me when it was time for the flight. When I drove back home, Max's car was in my driveway. I saw that he had a black eye and a broken nose when he stepped out of his car. The next day, he proposed, and I accepted. It's been 4 years now. Max and I have a 2-year-old daughter. He blocked me on everything. 2 days ago, I got a call from my son that he's going to be in town and wants to meet up in person this Friday, and I said yes. I was really scared. A part of me wanted to tackle him with a hug and beg for his forgiveness. Another part of me wanted to leave before he noticed me. I started asking about how he is doing. He said he was fine. I was about to apologize before he interrupted me by saying, "Before you apologize, I want to understand how the relationship between Max and you even started." I started telling him everything. When it came to mentioning my meetups, he interjected me and started asking questions that were difficult to answer. That's when I started crying. He told me to save my tears. He then asked if I was still with Max. I told him yes, that I was married to him and that we have a daughter together. He seemed to need a minute to process that. He said he loves himself and his life too much to have me back in his life. He told me his future in-laws and his fiance are his family now. He finally admitted that he just wanted closure before permanently cutting me off. He made it clear he wouldn't be there for me, at least at my last stage of life, or even come to my funeral. He said goodbye to me and left. I never felt so much emotional pain in my life before. What do I do now?
Get ready with me while I talk about me and my boyfriend's relationship and how we've broken up 3 times, but we're still together. So, first time I saw him was freshman year at a basketball game. He was playing for JV, and I just finished my basketball game, so all of us girls like stayed after to watch the boys. He like got announced to start, and I look over at my friend Riley, and I go, oh my god, Nolan Decker is so cute. And I talked about him for like probably like the whole entire half about how cute he was. Anyways, after the game then I snapped him and we FaceTimed. I was like, do you want to FaceTime? I was so bold that I don't know what got into me. And he was like, yeah. We FaceTimed that night and literally stayed on the phone for like 4 hours. Remind you, I had never talked to this person before. I just like thought he was cute and wanted to FaceTime him. That was how we met. We started dating a month after that. He asked me out over FaceTime. It was freshman year, it's fine. And we had our first kiss in that relationship, and it was like a awkward peck. Anyways, it was my first kiss and his first kiss. It was in January, and then on spring break, I decided that I wanted to be single. I was gonna do anything freshman year. Anyways, and then we got back together in May. So June 17th, still same year. We also said I love you the day we got back together again, so June 17th. I think it was 2021. Anyways, we got back together. We went into sophomore year together, like dating. We dated all sophomore year. I won homecoming court and got to walk out with him on the field. That was super fun. We dated for longer than a year at this point, and we celebrated our 1 year anniversary. So it was September 23rd, I want to say, of junior year. It was like the messiest a breakup could get, I think. It was so bad. The reason we broke up, it was like, I guess I initiated it, but it was mutual. We had just been together for so long, it started to get like, I don't know, like too comfortable and like kind of like controlling a little. Like really jealous, and just it seemed toxic. It seemed like it was getting toxic to me. So we broke up. Like the worst months of my life. You asked me the worst time of my life, it was that time. Anyways, I want to say beginning of February, we started like talking again. But like during the time we were broken up, we would see each other. Like I think we saw each other like twice, like secretly, because we didn't want to tell our friends. I want to say beginning of February, we started talking again. He asked me to be his Valentine with like, we weren't even like barely talking. He like came over and surprised me at my house with like Chick-fil-A chicken nuggets and like flowers. That's gonna be my Valentine. And then ever since then, we've been dating, and now it's almost February of senior year. So like this relationship has been through all high school. My best advice if you had a boyfriend all of high school is to try to like do fun things to like not let like the spark die, and like also like a breakup sometimes, I feel like me and Nolan talked about it, like a breakup sometimes is necessary. Like I'm glad we broke up when we did, because we both matured so much in the time we weren't together. I'm a firm believer in second chances, for sure. So it wasn't really like a hard decision for me to get back together with him. I think like you can like come back together and be better than you were the time before. Oh, in my opinion, don't be scared to get back with your ex as long as it wasn't like a horrible situation. That's my story time for everyone.
Story time of how my boyfriend got me back after I didn't talk to him for almost 2 years. I wasn't playing. A quick backstory. Bae and I met my freshman year of college, and throughout our time talking, he will always say things like, when I graduate, I'm gonna make you my wife, I'm gonna put you up in a penthouse, I'm gonna blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, that sounds cute, but like, where's the commitment? Because he would never be like, you're my girlfriend. One thing I wasn't about to do is assume that I was his girlfriend, and you never said that I was your girlfriend. So girl, I left that man right where he had me messed up at, because one thing you're not better do is try to lead me on with some words. I need to see action. I believe none of what a man says and all of what he does. Did I want to leave him alone? No, I did not. But he was a young, chocolate, hot frat boy in college. Baby, he ain't want no girlfriend. So baby, I found somebody that did, okay? I had a whole nother boyfriend. But y'all, I was so unhappy in that relationship. Like all I can do was think about my current boyfriend. Like I knew he was my person. Okay, so Bae graduated, and there was a flyer going around on Instagram saying that he was having a party for homecoming. So my homegirl sends me the flyer, and I'm like, oh yeah, baby, we're going. And I'm about to look too good. Baby, I went ahead and dyed my hair burgundy. And you know when a woman dye her hair red, she means business. Baby, I did me a bust down middle part, because that was his favorite. And I had me an old nasty little black dress on, baby. I was too ready to see that man. And it's not that I was expecting to be in a relationship after he saw me. I just wanted him to see me look amazing. I just wanted him to know that I was still thriving, living, breathing without him. Even though, girl, I was sick. I miss that man so bad. But baby, I had to figure till I made it, okay? So me, my homegirl, and my sister, we pull up to the party looking amazing, might I add. We in there like, and cute, dancing, you know what I'm saying? Just a vibe. It was a vibe. The party was fun. My homegirl had to go to the bathroom, so of course all three of us walked to the bathroom. As we walk in, I see him talking to one of his homeboys. I lied to y'all not. That man grabbed my arm, whispered in my ear and said, I told you when I graduated I was gonna make you my wife. Baby, in the inside I was weak in the knees. But in the outside I had to act like I really didn't care. So baby, I snatched my arm, girl, and I walked right to the bathroom. So girl, as I'm in the bathroom mid-pee, I hear the voice of a man. Baby, I hear this man in the bathroom telling all the women, respectfully might I add, could they please exit the bathroom? He had something he needed to take care of. I'm thinking to myself, like, I know this man did not just follow me into the girls' bathroom. So when I walk out of the stall, I hear this man pleading his case to my sister in the girls' bathroom. Like, I'm ready to be serious with your sister. Please tell your sister to give me a chance. As I'm washing my hands, I'm just thinking, like, am I dreaming? So I'm still trying to act, you know, unbothered. Like, why are you in the girls' bathroom? He was like, I really want to be with you, Erica. I'm really ready to commit. Like, I know you want commitment. Like, I'm ready for that now. I'm just like, yeah, nigga, whatever. And he was like, what's this I'm hearing you around campus with another nigga? You messing with some nigga, da, 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 da. And I'm like, look who's mad. And I'm not gonna lie, he looks amazing when he's mad. I was like, yup, I have a man. And he was like, tell that nigga you finished. You coming to Dallas next week. And baby, that's when my knees started buckling, because what else you want me to do? So that weekend I fell into temptation and I ended up breaking up with my boyfriend, child. Sorry to that man. In the following week, I was in Dallas, Texas. Girl, I was being wined and dined and shoes and clothes and purses and shoes. It was nothing I've ever experienced before. Like a man, y'all, really treating me like the pretty princess I am. He knew my issue with him in college was the fact that he didn't want to commit. So he really wanted to show me, baby, this time around, I'm yours and you're mine. I knew he was for real this time because everything he told me he was going to do in college, he did. He got me my puppy, my apartment. I ain't got to work. Baby, he was serious.
I don't think I genuinely fell in love with my husband until this last year, and we've been together for 6 years now. Before you start getting your panties all in a wad, hear me out. Like, don't hear what I'm not saying. I mentioned on Instagram stories that 2023, we turned a page in our relationship, and I found such a deeper meaning to trust, and our love now is unlike anything I've ever experienced in my entire life. Because the problem is, my husband and I both come from parents that don't have the healthiest relationship with their spouse or spouses, however many times they divorce. And when you grow up and you don't ever know what a healthy relationship looks like, you attract unhealthy relationships. It takes a lot to come out of that. I know you've all seen the girl that talks about the 5 stages of a relationship. First, we have the honeymoon phase, right? My husband and I obviously went through this. It felt very childish. It felt euphoric. We loved each other and we saw past all of each other's red flags. For us, that lasted about the first year, and then that wore off, right? And then our differences came up. This stage hit harder because we also got pregnant around this time in our relationship. Obviously, looking back now, I have 2 beautiful daughters and I wouldn't necessarily say I regret getting pregnant so early on in my relationship, but going through these 2 stages with a kid involved is not for the faint of heart, okay? If you can pop out on this side, you deserve a medal. And then around the 2-year mark, you guys start struggling. You guys are fighting more often. This is a very common breakup point for a lot of couples. I promise you that my husband and I would not be together had we not had kids. They were the extra piece of motivation to work things out. And I know, like, take that for what you will. I know everyone's gonna have their own opinion about it. But 2022, that was our 4th year of togetherness. We hit this repair stage. This involved a lot of therapy, looking inward, taking responsibility, committing to not yelling, committing to not, like, actually fighting abusively. I'm not talking physically. I'm grateful that my relationship had never gone to that point, but I'm talking emotionally, mentally. In 2023, boy, did we endure love. Like, we are now in this stage where we understand each other more than anyone else on this earth. But I'm going to take this a step farther and say that a lot of people trauma bond. If they're not aware of their attachment styles, a lot of people trauma bond when they meet somebody, and that is why they go through the cycle. That is completely my opinion. My husband and I had avoidant and anxious attachment styles. Look it up. There is science as to why those 2 couples stay together, and it's like a cycle of abuse almost. Essentially, these 2 attachment styles have belief systems that the other person affirms, but it is not in a good way or a healthy way. I'm not going to go in any deeper on that because just look it up. You'll feel like you're a psychology major after figuring all of this stuff out. All of this to say, I genuinely feel like the reason why we have endured love is because I did recognize that we did trauma bond. That did not work for us whatsoever. We had our differences. We went through the fighting stage. Ultimately, it was up to both of us to heal our attachment styles. I will say with the utmost confidence that I have a secure attachment now. At one point, my anxious attachment style ruined my life. It ruled my life. My husband is not an avoidant anymore. My husband comes to me. He came to me last night and said, babe, let's sit down and talk about some things that I think we've been avoiding. This man said, I feel a disconnect happening and I don't want it to get worse. So let's just sit down and hash this out now rather than continuing to avoid it. What? Avoidant attachment style who? It's not just communication, okay? I genuinely believe that this guy has my best interest at heart, and that was a belief that I didn't think anyone in the entire world had, not even my own parents. I genuinely believe that this guy would never hurt me. If he was given the opportunity, he would never hurt me. When the anxious part of me comes up and says, but what if? We'll deal with that later, but you have what it takes to soothe yourself now. We don't need to be worrying about something that may or may not happen. That's not serving anyone. This is your sign, especially if you're in that 2-year mark and you know things are coming up and you're like, is this worth it? Is it not? This is your sign to fully decide if or not it's worth it. Obviously for me, like I said, we have kids. So like, yes, I did want to give them the home and the family that I didn't have. That was worth it for me. But I genuinely set out on a quest to fall in love with this person that I thought I already was in love with. Turns out I was just in love with the way that he affirmed all of my beliefs. I was in love with the idea of him. Now is better than the honeymoon phase, because the honeymoon phase, rather than ignoring all the red flags, I know all the red flags, okay? I know what drives me nuts about my husband. But the difference is now we have the communication skills to talk about these things with each other and work through them and love each other for our flaws and past our flaws. It's an unconditional love that I just simply never saw coming.
Am I wrong for telling my boyfriend that if he goes to a strip club for either of these events, it's a wrap on our relationship? 1, there will be zero compromise on this. He knew this was a hard boundary before we even started officially being a couple. He agreed and said that they were skeevy and dirty. I don't agree they all are, but whatever. And that he never intended to go. Well, I do appreciate he spoke with me first. I'm not giving him a pass. He had an adult conversation at first, which is fantastic, but it turned into him alternating between cold and being whiny and mopey. And I appreciate it. But just because he had a conversation does not mean anything will change on my boundary. 2, for those saying it's not a boundary and is controlling, no. Boundaries are something you set for yourself, not others, which is exactly what I have done. My boundary is that I will not be in a relationship with a man that goes to see strippers in any capacity while in a relationship, and that's what I'm sticking to. He came to me asking if I'd be willing to give a pass, and I said no. My boundary is not, you can never go to a strip club ever in your life. It's, if you choose to go, I'll walk away from the relationship. He's a grown-ass man, and I can't and won't control him. But if he chooses to go, then he becomes the man in a relationship that is visiting strippers that I said I would end the relationship with. Then I would leave. That is exactly how a boundary works. He's free to make his own decisions, and I'm free to leave. My boyfriend, 28 male, and I, 27 female, have been together for 3 years. Since the beginning of our relationship, I made it very clear that strip clubs and strippers, even not at a club, were an absolute deal breaker for me. I told him I will not be with somebody that goes, and if he ever does, it's the end of our relationship and I will walk away. My boyfriend has a pretty close group of friends, and in this group are 2 of his cousins, C, 32 male, and J, almost 30 male. Jay's 30th birthday is this weekend, and C is getting at the end of September. My boyfriend came up to me today after work and asked me to talk with him for a bit. I, of course, sat down and listened. He told me the group wanted to either go to a strip club or have private strippers for both Jay's birthday and C's bachelor party. He went on to explain that 30 is a milestone birthday, and C only plans to get married once, so this is the one time he will have a bachelor party and get married. He said he knows I'm against strippers/strip clubs, but could I just be cool with it for these 2 events and that he would eventually make it up to me? I immediately said no. He just repeated no back to me. I confirmed that I did say no. I told him that while I can't forbid him from doing something and I cannot control him, I can choose how I respond to the boundary stomping and disrespect. He asked what I meant by that, and I informed him that if he did go to a strip club/have strippers, their relationship would be over. He got very pissy and asked, did you expect me to just not go to either party or leave if strippers are a part of it? I informed him he did not need to attend, but yes, if he wanted me to stay in a relationship with him, I did expect him to leave if strippers get involved in the plans. He got even more upset and said that would be embarrassing and all the guys would rag on him. I told him what would be embarrassing would be disrespecting a boundary I laid out before we even became official. I told him strippers were a hard no for me before we became official, so he could decide if he was okay with that. And if they'd rag on him for not participating in strippers, then they're not really good friends. He ended the conversation and has been short with me ever since.
Only advice a man has ever given me that's been worthwhile, and it came from my dad. I used to work in restaurants. I used to work in a fancy steakhouse restaurant in LA, okay? And you had to wear like a tight black skirt, dress. It was they made it appropriate with tights, but you did kind of look like a hooker, okay? And I was a cocktail server, but you made bank. You made so much fucking money if you just put up with people's bullshit, these rich people in mannerisms. You made so much bank. So cool. All right, I'll do it. And one night, I remember I was taking an order for a table, and this guy came up behind me, and where he put his hand was not on my lower back. It was basically right at the entryway of my ass crack. So way too close to my down under zone, bro. Like, I don't think so. And I remember in that moment walking back and being like, ha ha ha, like taking the order, being like, yeah, can I get you a dirty martini? Okay, wonderful. Like, he made me feel uncomfortable at my own job. And like, what are you supposed to do in that moment as a female? You're in a position of, you have to take their order, get it right, don't fuck it up. But also, this guy is disrespecting your boundary. And by the way, touching you. Don't touch your server. Don't touch him. So I went home. I told my dad, I was like, Dad, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know what to do. What am I supposed to do in that situation? Am I allowed to look at him and say, fuck you, buddy? No, because that causes a scene. And then I lose my job. Am I allowed to grab his hand and roundhouse John Cena his ass? No, because that's a scene. You can't do that either. So I was like, Dad, do you have any advice about how to deal with your fellow species of humans? He said, this is what you're going to do. And he got real mad at me. He's like, this is what you're going to do. You're going to look at me, this is what you're going to do, okay? The next time. Because unfortunately, it will happen again. And I don't want it to happen again, but it will. But next time, if a man touches you without your permission in a way that makes you feel uncomfortable or threatened at work, what I want you to do is this. You take a deep breath. And if their hand is on your lower back, you turn to that motherfucker. You look him dead in the eyes and you say, sir, do you want to keep that hand? I was like, oh my God, bitch. So then I went to work, and lo and behold, a week later, some motherfucker came way too close up on it was like in a weird place, like, don't touch me. And I remember this guy grabbed my back, and I looked at him, and I was taking the other, and I was like, you want to keep that hand? I suggest you move it. All right, everybody. What are we going to get for you tonight?
Am I the asshole for making my husband sleep in the guest room after he refused to clean up his own vomit? Last night, my husband had some work friends over for a barbecue and drinks. I worked today and I did all the prep work / cooking and cleaning so him and his friends could enjoy their time together. He ended up getting pretty drunk and threw up in our bathroom sink, left it, and refused to clean it up when I asked him to. His refusals included, I don't know what to do to clean it up, and I closed the drain on the sink, and now I can't get it open. It's one of the drains that you push to close and push to open. Yeah. Also, quote, I don't have time to clean it because I have to work early. Little background on our situation. He works full-time, pays 60% of the bills, and I work part-time, 40% of the bills. Therefore, I deal with all domestic house duties. Don't get me wrong. I love my role in our home, and I am truly happy to do it. However, this just feels like straight up disrespect. I was super upset after him feeding me excuses of why he can't clean up his own vomit. He smelled horribly of liquor and was starting to raise his voice at me when he was explaining he couldn't clean it because he had to go to work to pay for all the things we want. To be clear, we have our own individual bank accounts and he doesn't pay for any of my personal bills or recreational purchases. After his exudes of why to not clean it up, I didn't engage or continue with the argument because when you're sober, there's no reasoning with a drunk person. So I had asked him to sleep in the spare room. Now I just feel guilty. So tell it to me straight. Am I the asshole in this situation?
Am I the astronaut for telling my daughter we are only going to celebrate when she has something to celebrate? I will try my best to explain this. My daughter is 20 and dropped out of college. My son is graduating college this year. I was asking him what he wanted to do for graduating. My youngest also just got into the honor society in high school, so we're going to dinner soon. So really everyone is doing something, and I notice my daughter getting more upset when other people bring up their accomplishments. She lives at home, and sadly, she hasn't much going on in the accomplishment area. Her birthday just passed, which we did celebrate, but that is not the same as getting dinner or something for an accomplishment. I know it is rough for her. The issue was when she came up to me and told me she wanted a celebration dinner. I asked what for, and she didn't give me an answer. I told her we were only doing a celebration dinner when she has something to celebrate. This started an argument where she thinks I'm not being fair and everyone else is getting celebrated. I told her it is fair and she will get celebrated when she has an accomplishment. She called me a jerk and my oldest thinks I should just give in and give her a dinner for anything. Candy Thunder's got some notes here. Candy Thunder's notes are, I agree with OP that the celebration dinner should be to celebrate an accomplishment because otherwise it takes away from the accomplishments of others. But I think you could also just ask your daughter to dinner, just the two of you. Make her feel seen and encourage her. Ask her about her goals. Offer support to help her achieve her goals. Maybe she feels like she's spinning her wheels and needs some help to start the process. I understand that she's an adult, but she never stops being a child and needing her mom. Giving her a kind shove to accomplish something. If our girls were feeling this way, this is how I would handle the situation.